Greetings hobbyists, this is Artisans of All, and in this video we're having a look at Meshy, which is a free or paid for text or image to 3D model generator. So this website is called Meshy.ai, and it's got a lot of cool things to it. I thought we'd have a run through, and I can just talk you through what I'm doing as I'm having a play with it, and you can decide if it's something that interests you. Straight away on their startup page, you've got these options at the top about your community, your assets, and various other things, and you've got the option to do text to 3D, image to 3D, AI texturing, or text to voxel. You also have some credits, and all of your information is at the top right hand corner, but you do need to sign up to this. I just used my Google account for it. And some other things that we've got is this nice community tab, which gives you all of these other models that community members have made using the software, which is pretty cool, and you can download these if you choose to, and whether you pay for them or not is sort of up to you. I'll come to that. So let's have a look at one of these and download it. I'm going to grab this crazy looking demon thing, we'll download it, and we'll start by talking about the fact that you get loads of different options of how you're going to download this. So FBX, OBJ, and so on, but importantly for me, it allows you to do it as a blend file, so you can get that straight away. So let's download this and take a look at one of these community models straight away. So here we are in Blender, and here's this model. Now it's got a flat back to it. I'm not sure if that was part of the original design, so a bit limiting on our use there, but you must admit the texturing on this looks absolutely fantastic. Now, I don't normally deal with texturing. I model for 3D printing, but I think this looks really good to me. And if we just come into this and go into vertex mode, we can see that this is pretty high density, so probably as good as you're generally going to need. Let's come out of that and just have a look at this, and we can see some of the detailing on this for if you were to use this for, let's say, 3D printing. And again, pretty good. Could do with maybe a little bit of sharpening up on some of these edges, like maybe the teeth, but we could do that manually if we needed to, or if this is a relatively small model, I reckon that's pretty usable. I reckon that would paint up very, very nicely. So okay, Meshy, we're off to a pretty good start. Let's try out some of the generation, and we'll start with the text to 3D. Now, the way this works is you've got some information on the side. For example, I've been playing around with this and doing various things, like a wrench. We'll talk about some images later and I'll go through these. But we need to type in our text prompt of what we want. And you can see it gives you an estimate of how long this is going to take and the amount of credits. So everything's really transparent on what you're doing. So liking things for both sci-fi and fantasy, let's do a stone staircase. Click generate. And notice I haven't gone very detailed here in my description. I just wanted to give it a go and see what it will come up with. Now at this point it's just working through this and we get our percentage. And I've got the pro account, so this is being slightly faster, but I could set up loads of these, well 10 of these going at the same time if I want to, so that I don't need to wait around for everything. Once this is done, we click on it, and you notice we get 4 options, and we can look at each of these. And again, without much specific text information, this is sort of just done a load of random different things. To see what I want, I can click my favorite to continue. I'm liking this one, so let's go there, and then we can do some confirmation of our generation. How many polygons do we want, or how detailed it is? Let's go up to 30k. What topology do we want, and do I want to generate a texture? Now you'll notice at this point, I've spent 10 credits on this, and if I don't want any texturing, this adds no extra credits over that initial 10. So we'll stick with generating a texture. Just because I've got this, it adds a little bit of time and then some more credits, and we'll click confirm. Now while this is generating, we'll just come back to here, and you'll notice this at the bottom. This is where we get our retries. We can say, no, I want to do something with this and try it again. And this, instead of costing you credits, in the pro version, you get some free retries. Now what I haven't done is tried retrying this while I've still got that generating. So let's retry this again. And no, it still keeps that. So we've still got that generating. And then we've got a new set of 4. So we'll have a look at those as well. And again, we get our 4 staircases, just slightly different this time. So again, I've now got 3 retries. You can see how many you got left for free. And you can keep retrying it, but then it will start costing you credits. And actually, I think my other choices were probably better there, though this one actually looks quite nice. Again, I quite like that. Maybe I've just got a thing for things in the top right-hand corner. Right, so a minute later than that, and we've got our textured model. Yeah, I like that. That's looking pretty good. Again, I don't go in for rendering or animation, but this is looking pretty nice to me. So let's download this and have a look at it. So again, download. Again, you'll notice that there's no additional cost for this, so you can download things in whatever format you want, and we're going to click download. Now, notice that there is this topology that I've put into quads, and there is one limit here, which is a little frustrating. So at the moment, this is meant to be quad topology. We'll download it, and we'll take a look at it. So here's our staircase. Again, I think this looks really nice. I'm pretty impressed with this, although that isn't as good underneath it. So maybe a little limitation there. But for something that has cost me, well, nothing if I had this for free and taken a couple of minutes, that's pretty good. Now let's have a look at the geometry of this. Let's go into edge mode, and you'll notice whenever we select quads, or at least I've found whenever I select quads, it isn't actually perfect quad topology. It basically looks like quads that have been broken up into triangles. I do wish they'd sort this out, because this seems to consistently happen even when I put it into quads. Now, in Blender that's fairly easy. We can just F3 tries to quads, and then click that, and now it is quad topology mostly, because it does the best thing that Blender can do, so this is fairly okay. So we've got this. Let's just get rid of the texturing, and we can see what this looks like. And admittedly, this isn't quite as smooth as that head, or it is a bit too smooth, arguably, than that head. It doesn't have quite the definition that you might want for this, at least for 3D printing. Now again, I think this is a really good starting point. We could easily come into this and start sculpting over it just to define some of those edges, and you've got something pretty quick and easy to do, and I think it would save, personally, a lot of time than trying to model this out and then sculpt over it as well. So it's still definitely a time saver, but as far as 3D modeling is concerned, I think this is probably there more for people wanting to animate than necessarily it is for people wanting to 3D print. Though I still think even for the 3D printer, this could definitely be a time saver. Now, I did say I'd have a go at breaking this as much as I can, so let's click on New Model, and we're going to basically do a series of this as we go. Now, what I really like about this is it does have tutorials and examples of what to write as a prompt, and you can just click that and just go through things that you might want. Okay, so a fantasy creature that resembles a werewolf or a fantasy warrior. It has muscular humanoid body with fur covering its skin predominantly in shades of, and you can see how long this goes on for. But you'll also notice that it's quite open to interpretation, like they haven't talked about specific body parts and specific elements of it. It's all, well, we want spikes. Not, we want spikes specifically on its left knee pad or something like that. Okay, so let's have a look. I mean, these look great, don't they? What do I want? Big head, small head? I think I like this one. So, again, let's keep it quad topology. Let's really up the level of this, and then we'll do the texturing. Let's confirm this, and we'll just quickly download it and have a look at what it looks like. And again, really, really nice texturing for something that's been generated. Maybe this is something they've already got set up because of the way it was done as an example, but pretty happy with that. Again, let's download it and take a look as a Blender file. And straight in, here we go. And yeah, as good as it looks on the website. I think that's really nice. Now, admittedly, this probably isn't going to be set up for something that you're going to be moving the face around or animating that far. And we've got a slight error with some geometry that is off here. I mean, that's a very easy fix. We can just delete that out. But there might be some quick checks that you need to do as you generate these models. So just something to bear in mind. But again, very impressive for what's taken a couple of minutes. And if this was something animation-wise, tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. But I imagine that in the background is going to look fairly good for something you didn't want to spend too long sculpting yourself. And I do like the little details on the armor. I think that's really nice. Now, speaking of doing this for 3D animation, this does have an animate option, and you can rig this. So for example, you can just click rig and it's going to rig it. You set what this is. So for example, a humanoid. So we made a relatively good choice, so it's not particularly a T pose, more an A pose. And it does say that we can do this, and basically the way this works is that you're going to set it up yourself. So it asks you to put things in place. So we're going to put that in the chin, we're going to put A and B on each of the shoulders, then the elbows, then the wrists, and then we're going to go for the knees and the ankles, I think this is very, very clear in terms of what it wants. And we do want a symmetrical object. So I think this is really nice, really clear. And yes, there's a little bit to do ourselves, but nothing particularly bad. And that needs to be somewhere around, well, it says groin, but they've got it sort of in his belly button. So let's go for a similar one there, though this might cause some problems. Let's confirm it. And here we are. It automatically starts with some sort of pose or some sort of movement. So we've got this walking. But, I mean, I'm not an animator, but for something that's taken maybe 20 seconds of input and 3 minutes of waiting, this is cool. Like, I think that's awesome how quickly we've got that. We've got some different options that we've got. We've got daily actions or body movements, or let's do fighting. This one looks like a good one, so let's do that. Let's try that out. Let's add that and see what happens. And I honestly haven't done any of this animation before. It's not something that hugely interests me, but I think it might interest you. So let's sort of stick with this and see what happens. I mean, that seems fairly valid for a werewolf roaring at the sky or the moon. And we've got basically each of them here. I just click back on this and it basically saves everything we've done. And we've got it back to walking. Oh, here we go. My animations, and you've got your options. Oh, there's one already running. Let's have a look at that. So yeah, anyway, so that's the animation. I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to play around with this animation too much. It's not my area of expertise. But the fact that this is all happening, and this animation is free, I think. I don't think there was any payment for this in terms of credits. So that seems really nice that you can just play around with it and use it as you want. So yeah, pretty happy with that. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. Is this good? Is this awful? I'm not an animator. You tell me what you think. So we're starting with text to 3D again. I will do image to 3D, but I do, as I said, want to try and make this break to the point where it doesn't really work so that you get an idea of what this can and can't do. So let's go with Mad Max Style Warrior. And let's click generate. And what we'll do is see how this looks, and then we'll add some more detail to the description. Right, so here we go, and we've got a few options. So these are looking pretty nice. This one, okay, look, some classic AI of a weapon going through his hand there. So maybe not that one. I think this one looks really good. And actually this one's pretty cool as well. Again, AI classic. Look at those stumpy legs. So yeah, there's definitely still the AI classics here, but we definitely get some good options. Let's click on that and let's texture it. So here's our texture, and boy, I mean, the detail on the face there is really cool. That's great. Actually, maybe not from the side. From the distance, it looks really good. There's definitely, again, some slight issues. And as always, this is sort of the I want some background characters. I don't think this is going to be your main assets for something if you're looking to animate. So let's see if we can break this. So new model, Mad Max Style Warrior with, I don't know, bionic arm. That seems like a nice way to go. Right, and we've got some different things. This, I mean, definitely has a bionic arm. It's not a whole body, but we didn't ask for the whole body. That one's maybe their bionic arms. That one definitely is. Okay, so we're sort of sticking with it. It's definitely working. So let's add some more detail to this. So with bionic arm, carrying a shotgun. So here's our options. The shotgun seems to be working. I'm not sure the arm's such a bionic arm. This one seems to be working with that sort of funky arm there. So that seems to be living up to what we asked for. Okay, let's make it more complicated. Carrying a shotgun. Wearing a sci-fi style helmet. Let's try that. Right, where are we? Okay. We're still doing alright with this. That helmet's just weird looking, but it seems to match the brief. There's his bionic arm, there's the shotgun. We're starting to get some issues here. This guy's got 3 arms or some weird half-arm thing. Kind of makes a cool mutant thing. I actually really like this guy, but I don't think... Oh no, he has got the bionic arm sort of bit there. Not sure that counts as a shotgun. It's got 2 barrels to it. So maybe this guy's winning, possibly. So let's mix this up now and really go different. So I'm going to put she is, so we'll change gender from everything we've had so far. She is riding a motorbike. Here we go. Well, we've definitely got one sort of androgynous model. One, yeah, maybe female. I'm not sure we've got a bionic arm. I think this one's probably winning. Again, I'm not sure if we've got a bionic arm here, and we're not really holding the handlebars too well. I think overall this one is probably the winner in terms of what's going on, but it's not holding the shotgun. So we do have some limits in terms of what we can come up with and what it will match with those prompts. The more detail it gets, the more problem it seems to have with it. But let's click free retry and see what it comes up with anyway. But I think what's interesting about this, and this is where I think some people are going to get salty in the comments section, I don't think that this and using tools like this does have no skill involved. I think that actually there is quite a bit of skill in you being able to generate or create a really well thought out prompt that you know works with the program. And that is a skill in itself. I don't think that's to be put down. And I really do like that we've got, let's actually have a look at these models. Actually, that's got a lot better. Again, not quite holding the handlebars, or it seems to have multiple handlebars. But yeah, we're definitely getting better on this. So it does seem to work to some degree. I just don't think it's going to be perfect when we get into this really high level of detail. But as I said, I think this has some skill in itself, creating prompts that really work. And that's why I really like that they've got guides to this prompt writing, which I think is really fun. And I think it's really nice that they've got that as a tutorial to try and make this work for you. What I'm going to try doing is just going back to the idea, well, what if we went for our original warrior? What was this prompt? Now, that had a bionic arm. So let's go with this guy that we thought looked pretty good. But what if I just start a new model and I type in sci-fi bionic arm? Generate that. And maybe we could just add that to the original model in Blender. That seems like an easy way to go. And here we have our bionic arms, and actually I'm kind of surprised at the detail of some of these. That one looks pretty good, and this one looks fantastic, though maybe too many fingers. Again, classic AI issue there, but not awful in terms of the way it looks. So maybe if we took the upper portion of that, I really like how gribbly that looks. But again, maybe a mix between these two, something like that. But again, hands, always the classic AI issue here with too many fingers and things like that. So maybe this is something that they still need to work on a little bit. So something to bear in mind there. Now, let's go back to our original workspace and let's try out the image to 3D. So for this, all we do is drag an image onto this, and other than that, it's exactly the same process. So I thought I'd try something interesting here. We've just got all of those ones. That demon that we first downloaded is Beautiful Demon Bust. I'm not sure I agree with beautiful. But anyway, let's just drag this. Now, this is actually a Space Marine helmet. And I've quite intentionally renamed this Jeff. I just picked a name out of nowhere. But I wanted to see if I can confuse this, because I noticed something quite interesting earlier when I was playing around with this. So let's upload this and let's generate this model. Now, while this is waiting to work, the interesting thing that I noticed with this is that earlier I uploaded a different Space Marine helmet. I'll show you that in a bit. But the title of this had nothing to do with Space Marine helmet. It just said sci-fi blue helmet or something like that. I'll show you the model later. But what's interesting is that it renamed it. Look, it's done it here again. Look. It has recognised this as a Space Marine helmet from the picture. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this is the most outrageous thing, but it does seem to have some way of analysing what's in the picture and trying to recognise it as something else. And remember, this image was called Jeff, just because I thought it would really take the mick. This is the one that I did, where are we? So this I uploaded, and it renamed it as Ultramarine Warrior, apparently recognising the ultramarine symbol on it. And again, this had some download file, like just a load of letters, and it recognised what it was. So I find this quite interesting that this can do this. And a few different options. You know what? I actually really like that. It's not what a Space Marine helmet should look like, and it's not what this actually looked like, but I think that's a really interesting shape. Might have to explore that for the future. I reckon you could put something on that like a beak and make it look pretty cool Raven Guard wise. But I think that one's definitely the best one. Maybe that one or this one. Let's go with this one here. Let's texture it and then confirm, just so we can see what it can come up with an image. Now I just want to say while this is going on that I have no rights to that picture. I literally just did a Google search and downloaded the image and threw this into this. So is this something that could potentially be used for ripping off someone's work? Maybe. Is that a bit worrying? Possibly. I have done a video on things you can do to stop AI being used with your models or being trained off your models. And again, I think this idea that it recognizes this as a Space Marine helmet does seem to give some credence that it goes through and recognizes what you're asking it to do. So I do think this is interesting to play around with. So here is our helmet. Okay, maybe the cables should be colored a little bit differently. And we haven't got these vents perfect. They're a little bit off. But again, this has taken no time, no effort to just throw in. And it's done a pretty good job. I wouldn't say perfect. I think trying to get really small specific objects is something that maybe doesn't work out always perfectly when they're sort of small but detailed. Now I did say I'll come back to this, and I do just want to come back to this wrench. So this, the brief was a sci-fi wrench. Not sure there's anything very sci-fi about it. But even so, if I was to make this in Blender, it's going to take me a bit of time, whereas this took me less than a minute. I mean, a sci-fi wrench, hit enter, I walked away, grabbed myself a drink of water and came back and it had done. And yeah, I didn't even bother texturing this, so very few in terms of my credits. We can download this as a Blender file, and we get this. So here's our wrench. Again, is it perfect? No. Is it something that I could put on a table at that distance or put on someone's belt and it means that I didn't have to model it, I just did it in 30 seconds and then this is going to be 3D printed? Hell yeah! I'm not saying that this Meshy tool is really designed for 3D printing in mind, though we can usurp it for our own uses. It definitely looks more for animation and maybe background objects, probably not your main character either, or maybe just some proof of concepts or some ideas for things that you want to do, or maybe a school project or a quick project. Am I saying this is perfect? No. But it is free for 200 credits a month. And speaking of which, now's probably a good time to talk about what you get free and what you need to pay for. So this is the pricing for Meshy. So this is available for free. You just sign up and you get 200 credits a month. And what I quite like about this is they actually show you what those credits will do. But effectively the model stage is 10 credits, and if you want some texturing to it, that's 10 credits as well. So effectively 20 credits for a textured model. So you basically get 10 free ones a month, or 20 if you don't want them to be textured. And there are some limits on what you can do, mostly to do with how fast it will work. Because you can only have one task in the queue, you can't set up loads of tasks working all at the same time, and you're not getting priority over people that have got a paid for version, which I guess kind of makes sense. So it's definitely worth giving that free version a go, and hopefully this video has been useful showing you some of the things to do and some things to avoid with your free credits. So for $20 a month, you get 1,000 credits. So what are we talking here? 50 models that you can make? But what's important about this is you get a number of retries if you don't like what it came up with the first time. And you can then up that to, let's say, $60 a month or $120 a month, where you get unlimited access to everything. And if you are interested in trying out this as the Pro, if you are signed up to the Patreon at any level, basically you can enter this at the end of March, and I've got 5 free Pro accounts that Meshy have said that I can hand out as part of the agreement of me doing this video. And you can see I've been pretty honest about this. I've gone through and tried to find the things that are not going to work on this, just so that you can use this well, but also the things that work really nicely. Again, let's go into our edges, and it's not quads. That's F3, tries to quads is still there. There we go, we've got some pretty good quad topology. Stick that on your model, just on its belt. And if this is a small 28mm model, I don't think anyone is noticing that you haven't done that yourself, and it's probably saved myself maybe 30-40 minutes, maybe a bit more with the screw, of sculpting. And no one's really benefiting from you spending that time. This is perfectly recognizable as a wrench. I don't think anyone is questioning that when it's on your model's belt. So that's a quick look at Meshy.ai and exactly what it can do. I think it has some really useful potential in terms of just saving us time on small little details we want to throw onto models, or having things in the background for maybe renders or animation. But again, I don't do animation, so let me know what you think. Also, have I missed anything out here? Is there any uses that we could potentially put this to that I haven't discussed, or any problems that you've noticed along the way that I didn't spot? And I think a comment on one of my other AI posts was really interesting. This is as bad as this technology is going to get. It's only getting better from here. And the team at Meshy have been updating it fairly regularly, like it's updated once since I started playing around with this a month ago, so we're seeing this constant improvement in these softwares that are available. So on that note, I think I'll leave the video here. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you for the next video.